Well, found this big lad at the scrapyard today. Kind of hard to identify what it is, but if I look close, it says BKN. It's got a serial number, 2 7/8 bore, 2 3/4 stroke. So, got on the internet. Looks like it's a Wisconsin BKN, 7 horsepower, weighs in at about 70 pounds. Unfortunately, the claw at the scrapyard did a little bit of damage to it, but and it's either stuck or seized. She doesn't try to turn over at all, but got a few cooling fins missing, nothing too serious. Exhaust got broke off. It's got a Fairbanks Morse Magneto on it. This looks like maybe a governor setting here. Doesn't look like it's running quite a few years, but I'm gonna start peeling it apart and see how bad a shape the cylinder's in, that type of thing. Katie cat come over for a visit. She's visiting my dried out catnip here. Catnip grows all over my yard, and so mine's very popular with the neighborhood felines, isn't it, Katie? It's a very popular place to visit, right? Yes, it is, yeah. So anyway, I'll be tearing into this BKN here. Well, this one does have a fair-sized piston in it there. The head gasket come off in one piece, so I could actually reuse that. Sounds like somebody's truck's got a miss or an exhaust leak there. Anyway, one thing different than Briggs on this one, the 3 long head bolts go in the front, hold your starter cover in. All the other ones are shorter. The 3 long ones go along the front there, and all the rest are, like I say, shorter bolts. Whereas Briggs, the 3 long ones go around the exhaust. So, looks like a low compression head to me. But I don't remember how many cubic inch this thing is, maybe 17 or something. It's up there anyways. Well, at least the cylinder doesn't have a ball of rust in it, so that's a good thing. As to why it's stuck, I don't know. It could be a valve or the piston rings. I guess we'll try to get to the bottom of it. The teardown continues here. Got the carburetor off. Actually, the throttle and the choke both move. I thought the choke was seized, but I think it was just bent linkage. Luckily, it didn't survive any claw damage at the scrapyard, or didn't get wrecked. Gas tank, I got it off there. It's my collection of pop cans I'm going to turn in for scrap metal. So both the fill plug and the little drain plug come out, but unfortunately the first thing to come out was about 2 cups of water, and then water and oil do mix, because the rest of the stuff in here is a mix of the two, gray. So drained out as much as I could, you know, until it started dripping. This thing being so heavy though doesn't make life easy. I guess I could drag its butt back to my motor frame there and set it up on it and drain it some more. But so the other thing I did notice is that the maybe you saw it on the video, but the valve spring cover is missing. There's a bolt in the center there. Now this one looks like it's just a flat plate. It's got a little crankcase vent off on the side here. Can't say I've seen that before, but that's it anyways. So it'd be easy enough to fabricate a plate, but I wonder if maybe the motor being stuck isn't a result of water. Well, it could get in the crankcase right through that hole there and seize up the valves and tappets. That would stop it from turning over, because the cylinder, like, there's no rust in it, so no water's gotten in there. Now the exhaust valve is open, so you know, it did have a muffler on it, but the atmosphere could still get in through the open valve, and that doesn't bode well in this climate with you know, snow and rain and all that. So I think we get about 30 inches of precipitation here a year. But might attempt to remove the flywheel also, although there's no points or nothing behind it because it's got the external magneto there. And from what I saw online, these motors have tapered roller bearings on both ends of them, so they're built pretty good. Wisconsin's weren't a cheap motor line. Oh, I got the flywheel off. It's a normal right-hand thread on this nut slash rope pulley starter here. And then it's got a lock washer, and there's the back side of the flywheel. Pretty good sized key in it there. What I actually did, I got this big long guy here, like a chisel in effect, drove it in between the flywheel and the engine block, and then smacked to the back side of the flywheel that sticks out on this side with my copper brass hammer there, and about 3 smacks and off she popped. I left the nut screwed on the end of the shaft so the flywheel could only come that far. That way it couldn't, you know, fall off and break a fin. But all in all, it came off fairly easily. Decided to take the magneto off. I wasn't going to, because I'm sure there's some complicated procedure of how to retime it again, but I'm kind of glad I did. It isn't seized, it wiggles, but it doesn't seem to wiggle much further than that. And that crap down in there, maybe it was the water level come up, pushed the oil up, you know, so maybe it had, but it's definitely got that gray looking water oil mix on it, so maybe I'll take the far end of it off here and see what goodies lurk inside. This thing looks like it was used at a sulfur plant or something. It's got this yellow, light yellowish kind of powder stuff all stuck to it. Or mustard, I don't know. Weird anyways. Well, there's inside the magneto there. There's the cover, just one electrode that goes to that. You get your little, in effect, well, points opening camshaft there. It's got some rust on it. Breaker points there. At least they're still relatively intact. Condenser. This is kind of looking like a coil, but yeah, I guess it would be. And then you got a rotor down in there, but at least it's not a complete ball of rust. Outside here, it's interesting. It's got a stop button. You just press this guy, and it grounds out against the casing to stop the motor. So if I was going to try to get this running, obviously I've got some work to do to these things, but totally different than a Briggs & Stratton setup, of course. Well, I'm going to see what trouble I can get in by tearing the bottom cover off it. On these cast iron block jobbies, that's how you access the connecting rod and all. That's the bottom plate. This one, unlike, say, a Model 5S Briggs, which has 2 big bolts, this one's got 10 little ones, so I'm glad I have the battery-powered impact driver. That'll speed things up a lot. Well, here I am about 1 minute later. I told you there was water and sludge in the bottom of that thing. This thing looks like it's got some kind of, that looks like a, second I'll set it down here and point. That looks like an oil strainer screen. And this guy here, maybe the oil goes in there for the dipper. Anyway, we'll see what goodies we got going on here. So not much of a dipper on the conrod there. Everything's looking kind of what I'd have to call rusty. Haven't seen too many Briggses that have that much rust on the crankshaft. Though this engine's probably pre-1955, so it could have been sitting for 30, 40 years, who knows. But see the governor there, it's on the end of the camshaft. Gear driven, helical, bevel, gear driven, no, bevel gears anyways. on the crank and cam, and a roller bearing on the crankshaft there. Same there. Bunch of oil sitting down the piston. She's got a pretty long rod on it. But I guess Wisconsin painted the inside that like red oxide primer type of color there. So it's hard to say why she's seized up unless it's like a valve tappet or something. Could be bearings. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of it.